Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning in for another video. So in this video we're going to be covering an addition of yet another moray eel for the 1000 gallon moray tank. This one is a very special eel. I purchased him at the same store where I bought the Viper moray about a year ago. So in this episode I'm going to show you exactly what kind of eel I got, why I chose him and how he's getting along with the other ones. Okay, I'm back home. The eel is currently acclimating and his acclimation period is pretty much over. So before I put him in, a few things that I wanted to cover. So obviously this is always a little bit risky, putting in an eel in an enclosure with eels that are already settled in. It pretty much comes down to this guy right here, the tessellata. So if he accepts the new eel, we should be fine. So this tessellata is pretty much the eel that runs this tank, and here's the reason why I cannot put my Japanese dragon moray in here, because he just absolutely hates that eel. And even in a tank like this, 10 feet long, 4 feet front to back, 4 feet tall, so 1,000 gallons, still not big enough when you have two eels that absolutely don't like each other. He would be chasing that dragon moray around the tank, non-stop until they get a hold of him. So I couldn't do anything but have to take that eel out. And yeah, so a friend of mine told me about another possible issue I could be facing, and that is with the other green moray that I have in here, because there can sometimes be aggression between two of the same eels, and green morays have exhibited that type of behavior in the past. But then I do know, about zoo displays that have multiple green morays. One of them gave me the idea of, escaping this tank with these pots. So I'm not sure, but the Brazilian moray that I have in here, the one that's darker, he's not going to be in here, for his whole life. So the store where I bought the new one from, he already told me that he would be happy to adopt him and put him into his 6,000 gallon system in the back. And yeah, so even if I have problems, I already know a place where I could put him. It's not about making money and selling him. It's about making sure that, somebody has the space for a green moray, which gets really big. So that will be a possibility for me. So yeah, I'm about to put the green moray now into his new home. Hopefully everything will go well. If not, I'm standing by to take either him out, or if the tessellata is causing problems in the tessellata, and if the other green moray is being chased, then obviously the green moray. So yeah, I'm ready to put him in, and I will pick this camera up once he's inside. All right, green moray in the tank. Very nice color. A lot brighter than the other one. And now we just have to see any signs of aggression. Usually if something isn't working, you're going to know pretty quickly, not like weeks later. I do know of some people who had eels living together peacefully for a long time, and then suddenly it wasn't working anymore. But usually you see the problem right away. So that's why I'm looking out for any aggression. Here we go. Green moray and a tessellata. So obviously green moray doesn't know about the pipe system, so he's not hiding right away. It's a beautiful eel. So, oh, here we go. Look at this animal, wow. So pretty. So I'm going to let him settle in. I don't think there's going to be a problem, because when the dragon moray was somewhere in this area, the tessellata already smelled him and already came chasing after him. So I think the tessellata is good with the new green. And now the only question is the new green good with the old green, which is smaller than him, significantly smaller. So that's also a consideration. They usually say, you know, try to introduce eels of similar size with one another. And obviously I took a risk when I got the green moray, the Brazilian one, which is only 2 feet. The dragon moray, the old one, which had a fishing hook in his belly, but he was actually getting along with this tessellata. And then the zebra moray, which you see, you know, underneath the tessellata, totally fine with one another. So, but yeah, the green moray, the new one, since he's so much bigger than the current one, there is a chance that I may run into problems there sooner rather than later. But like I said, if this does happen, the fish store where I bought this one from, LAX Aquarium, which also is the store where I bought the viper from, he will be happy to take him in. Alright, so this was the standoff with the tessellata eel. So the first time they were face to face, and this is actually the only time this happened. And if they had gotten into a fight where they basically get tangled up in a ball, that would have meant this wasn't going to work. But as you can see here, nothing else happens besides this initial little squabble. And here we see the 2 green moray eels now meeting each other for the first time. Obviously the one from Brazil, they had before didn't like to see another one of the same species in this tank, but other than what you see here, not much happened. So it's been a couple minutes now, and the green moray has met pretty much everyone except the viper moray and the zebra moray. And the viper moray always sits in the pipe in the opening, and so whenever he will try to get into the pipe, that's where he will meet him face to face pretty much. And yeah, so it's a little bit of a rough start, I would say. I mean, there was some squabbles, but this is kind of what I expected, especially an eel of equal size or close to equal size to the others. I was surprised that the smaller green that I already have, the Brazilian one, that he would come out to you know, show some aggression towards him and not the other way around. But this is something I have to monitor. I think the tessellata will be fine. The tessellata basically just acts the way he did when the sharks were introduced. He didn't like that at all when there suddenly were big sharks roaming on the bottom, and I thought I would have to take the sharks out. And but I think it's going to be fine. The green moray now passed by the tessellata a couple times, and all he did was just, you know, go after him and sniff a little bit, and then retreat back into the pipe. And that's exactly what he did with the sharks when they were roaming around. And sometimes he nipped at the sharks in the beginning, and that's what he did in the beginning now with the green moray, but nothing ever since. So yeah, I will have to keep monitoring. This is, I would say I'm cautiously optimistic, but I will very likely still have to rehome the Brazilian moray pretty soon to the store where I got this one from, and then everything should be fine. So here we see the green moray from the Caribbean hanging out next to the one from Brazil, and for the first time there's no aggression at all, so that was amazing to see. And here you can see that the giant moray, the new green moray, and the tessellata are getting more and more comfortable with being around each other. So there's no more awkwardness, you know, between the eels.
and this was a good sign, you know, that this experiment was eventually going to be successful. So next comes the feeding, and so what I used to do up until this video that you see now is I used to actually spot feed him, because even though the eels started to become comfortable with being around each other, there was still a chance that they would get into fights when it comes to food, because you know, I wasn't sure how aggressive the green moray would be when it comes to sharing food with the other eels. You know, would he be an eel that, you know, is going to push everyone out of the way and, you know, snap at everyone? And so this was kind of an experiment. The next thing I had to try, and as you can see, everything went well, but he is a little bit territorial. As you can see here, it pushes the giant moray away a little bit, but the most important thing is that he never actually, you know, took a bite out of the giant moray or any of the other eels. So this is, you know, still acceptable behavior in my book. And in this clip here, this is basically what sealed it. You know, we have both green eels, the one from the Caribbean on the left, and the Brazilian one on the right, and both of them being able to eat next to each other without getting in any fights. So that was amazing. And then here, to top it off, the new green moray actually hanging out with the giant moray in the same opening. So he's becoming more and more social, and that was amazing to see.
All right, so it's been actually a couple of weeks since the Caribbean green moray has entered this aquarium. And yeah, what can I say? There are no more problems between him and the tessellata. No more problems between him and this Brazilian green moray. Here is the Caribbean coming out. And yeah, so very happy that this experiment turned out to be successful. It was a big risk, but eventually, you know, it took a while for everyone to find their hiding spot. It took a while for the for the Caribbean green moray to find his spot. And I cannot really say that I'm, you know, surprised. I know that, you know, the bigger the aquarium, the you know, chances of success are much higher, simply because, you know, in a tank like this, every eel can really, you know, separate from each other if they, you know, are not fans of each other. So I did notice, you know, a couple of, you know, scrapes every now and then on eel, you know, indicating that there was a fight. And even from the sharks, I think I saw some shark marks, you know, the round marks. So yeah, that was something I didn't expect. I've seen the Brazilian green basically hang out with every eel except for the Viper moray that you see up there. So he is always hanging out up here. So that's why I haven't really seen him hang out with the Caribbean green moray. But yeah, what can I say? I'm very happy that everyone's getting along now. The Brazilian green moray is now roaming around, and sometimes when this happens, or in the past, you know, there would be fights, especially when they're next to each other like this, like you see now. But I basically have to make sure that I feed, you know, on a tight schedule. I was planning on only feeding, you know, every now and then, like every 2 or 3 days, so you don't see any fights breaking out. But unfortunately, you know, the longer I wait, the hungrier the eels, the hungrier the sharks, and then especially the sharks, when they come out, and if they're super hungry, they're going to be really aggressive and, you know, mow everyone out of the way. So I just decided to just feed, you know, every 2 days, every 3 days at the latest. So, and as you can see, you know, with the sharks in the tank as well, there's really never any leftovers. So the tank is always, you know, clean. Obviously, they're very messy eaters. You see this here. But then I have the monofish. They basically act like piranhas in a way. And yeah, so removing all the sand, you know, a couple months ago, that was really, you know, a very big help, you know, and then removing all the rocks and replacing this with this, you know, pot system. Yeah, that worked really well. So every now and then you see a squabble like this, but you never see any biting. So like I said, I just have to make sure there's enough food. These are big eels, very hungry eels. They are growing. And eventually, I think the Brazilian green will need to be rehomed. The store where I bought him from told me that they would be happy to take him in, put him into one of their display tanks. And so this may be something I will do once he has reached the size of the Caribbean, maybe. And or if I have to redo this pipe system, because this pipe system here is 4 inches in diameter, and the eels, they usually like to like the tessellata and the giant moray, they do like to hang out with one another, and that's getting more and more difficult because they're just getting so big. So it's really hard for them to squeeze into the same opening, and unfortunately they're not using the pots as much as I like. So I may need to one last time get into this tank, redo the pipe system, replacing it with a 6-inch version, which is a little bit difficult because you don't have the exact same connectors. For example, this connector there with the swung like this, I don't think it's available in 6-inch versions. So, but yeah, this is something I may have to do down the road, or I just leave it like this and just force the eels basically to use these pots, because that's the reason why I put them in. And here we see no fighting. So yeah, very happy. So I have seen displays that are full with the green moray eels, and it worked well. So a friend of mine told me I may have a big problem with having 2 greens in the same tank, but yeah, eventually it did work out. So it just takes patience, it just takes time. Like I said earlier, make sure you're on a tight feeding schedule. Don't let the eels get too hungry, and make sure everyone has at least one hiding spot that they can claim for themselves. So here we have 3 openings on the bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the top. We have 3 big pots, and then we have 2 smaller strawberry pots. So this is plenty of opportunity for every eel to find their own space. So yeah, I think this is it for this video. Beautiful eels. Green morays are faster growing than the other ones, so I expect the green to maybe overtake the tessellata and the giant moray pretty soon. But now that they are used to each other, I don't think that the green will become a bully in this tank and basically force me to get rid of him. So I think he's going to be able to live here for most, if not all, of his life. And the sharks as well. These are almost fully grown, I believe. These are females, so they get about 40 inches, and this is 48 in depth. So they're getting up there, which is great. And then, yeah, I don't think I will have to stock anything else into this tank. Maybe the monofish need to be replaced at some point. I mean, the Caribbean green moray, he is probably the biggest threat to the monos because he hasn't been out of the wild for that long, only a couple of months that he was at the store. But I am feeding him regularly, so I'm hoping to deter him from eating my monofish. And if you have watched previous videos, you know that I soak all of my food in garlic. And that is because I want the eels to associate the smell of garlic with their food, so that they will eventually only accept food that smells like garlic, and therefore will not go after my live fish. And so far this has worked well, but I've heard that this silver shimmer is something that the green morays are attracted to in the wild. That's something that they like to hunt for. And yeah, so we'll see how that goes. And yeah, maybe I will put a group in here at some point, I'm not sure. But the monofish, I really like them. They keep the upper part of the tank busy. So, and the sharks take care of the bottom, and then the eels, they go on to all areas. All right, I think this is it for this video. If anything else happens, I will give you another update. Until then, thank you so much for watching, and see you next time.